And we're back in the Cobb TV studios with Chairman Mike Boyce for our weekly visit. And by the time, Chairman, most people watch this, you'll be starting off those town halls.
So it begins.
Yep.
We start on Tuesday with the town halls in 8 different locations. Each location gets 2 on one day, 1 at 3 o'clock. So those people who don't want to drive at night can come and hear the presentation and ask questions. And then at 7 o'clock for those who work or have other commitments during the day, that allows them to do the same thing.
Mm-hmm. You have a 3-pronged approach to these town halls.
We do. I want to talk about the budget from last year, is to show you what we've done already with the resources you've given us based on the support of the millage rate last year. And then I want to talk about how we're going to continue this restoration process in 2020 with what I'm asking the board to consider and approve this summer. And then the third part, which is probably the most important part, it begins our journey on addressing the transit and transportation needs, the future transportation needs of the county. And in that third part, we want to give you the timelines and the various mechanisms we have to not only address the projects, but also the tools that we've been given by the state government to fund these projects.
930, House Bill 930 and Senate Bill 170 are two different animals,
right.
But how will they come together to form what we may vote on eventually in 2022?
Well, House Bill 170 allows us to pay for transportation projects, but it has a 5-year timeline. House Bill 930 allows us to address transit projects, and it has an unlimited time frame. Both of them, though, allow us, if we need to generate additional revenue to do that. And I just find it difficult, that given the magnitude of the projects and the cost that comes with them, that this would not involve some degree of a sales tax increase. The general fund and SPLOST itself, can handle some projects, but let's be realistic. I think I used an example recently that we have an interchange going on at Windy Hill in 141. That's a $40 million project, and that requires SPLOST dollars. If we were to if that one project alone would consume almost 10% of our general fund dollars just to do that one project. And look, we have some really important needs here in the county, requirements, public safety being the number one here. So we have all these different things that are available out there. And what I'd like to do is, first of all, just sort of have a general, 10,000-foot view of where we're trying to go and how we're going to get there, what it is that we can use to get there. And then let's start with what I call a short discussion on the terms of the various options involving transit and even transportation. Because some of the terms that I used when I was growing up are not the terms they use today. And so what I would say, we want to leave there with a small dictionary of the terms that we'll be discussing in the future. That doesn't mean that these various options are something that we're focused on. The board right now is not focused on anything else other than starting the process, first with the town halls, and then in April with the public hearings involved with the revision of the comprehensive transportation plan. This will begin a long discussion until we finally result in projects being approved in the new SPLOST in 2020 that'll begin to take effect in 2022, or what we vote on in 2022 regarding transit and transportation.
The comprehensive transportation plan, which has some meetings kicking off in April, I believe. Right. You mentioned last week that's really going to be kind of the baseline for forming what we vote on in 2022. Right. So going into these town halls that you're holding, what kind of feedback do you want or expect to hear from the people?
I expect to hear the same kind of feedback that we got last summer at the town halls involving the budget. I want it robust, I want it widespread, I want a deep involvement by the community in these projects because, look, anytime you're asking for more money from the population, from residents, the voters, you need to hear loud and clear what it is that they believe you should be doing with their money. And that's why this is just the start of a very long journey. Just because these first public hearings involving the comprehensive transportation plan are just general meetings to discuss about where it is we're going to be going with this plan, because this is going to be a 18-month plan. That out of this plan will come the projects that we will probably vote on in the referendum in 2022.
When you're out in the community and when you look at your email inbox, how much of the conversation revolves around transit?
Well, obviously, it's one of those interesting topics where it depends on where you live, and what your requirements are to get back and forth to where you work or where you want to go. So again, as I tell everybody, everyone can be heard, but the forum to be heard will be in these public hearings for the comprehensive transportation plan. And then what I will do with the future town halls is I will take the results of those public hearings, all right, and then use it to engage the public, to get them back to come back once again for future public hearings, so that we can start to nail down these projects. So it's an iterative process. We won't overwhelm you with town halls and public hearings, but we're certainly going to have enough so that when we finally produce the list, whether we're going to pay for them with SPLOST dollars or we're going to pay for them in 2022 with transportation dollars, this is a list that we've heard from you, and so when you see it on the ballot, this is just the form that we have to use to get you to approve it.
And I've had some people I've talked to a little bit confused about the district option versus the countywide option. Mm-hmm. You were with the legislative delegation this week talking about extending the deadline to make that decision. So how would you explain to them why we need that extension and what the district versus countywide means?
Well, because if we didn't get the extension, then that perhaps might have taken that option off the table. And I didn't want to take anything off the table. It wasn't that I just thought the timeline, I understood where the delegation and the legislature was going, but I firmly believe that we did not have the appropriate time to get out and engage the public on something of this magnitude. Because the special district can be paid for just by the people that are in that district, or it can be a countywide tax to pay for transit in that district. And that's a discussion that takes a long time because people need to think about it, but more importantly, we need to make sure that we get out and engage everybody. And I didn't believe we could do that by the end of the summer, which is the deadline for us was to get it on the ballot in November. So I went to the legislature to ask them if they'd simply leave that option on the table, but in order to do so, extend the timeline where we could engage the public with that to 2022. For a couple of reasons. First of all, we did not, even though we could, I told them I couldn't do it this summer. In 2020, I did not want to intermix it with the vote on the renewal of the SPLOST. Even though there might be some transportation projects or transit projects in the SPLOST, I still didn't want to confuse the two and mix the two up. So I asked them to 2020 was off the table. 2021 is an off-year election, and the concerns there was that we may not get a lot of voters, and we'd have to pay $400,000 to $500,000 for a special election. And if we did it an off year, there might be the perception we were gaming it to try and just get certain voters to pass something. So the better approach was to put it again in the general election in 2022, November 2022. And the bill was dropped today, and I was really proud to see that it was co-sponsored in a bipartisan fashion. We had both people on both sides of the aisle supporting it, and more importantly, the sponsor of 930, Kevin Tanner, also is a co-sponsor for this new bill, asking us to open up the legislation to extend the deadline. So it doesn't get any better than that.
Right. And the conversation, when folks come to the town halls, they may be talking about something that could end up in SPLOST,
sure,
could end up on the ballot in 2022,
right.
But the important thing is to get your opinion out early.
Sure. Look, we're going to have a lot of town halls and public hearings, and out of these meetings, we may hear by Christmas time, hey, there is something that no matter what meeting we went to, where we went in the county, they want this project. That might give us time to put it into the SPLOST if it fits that format. So again, I'm very confident in this process. We listen to the people. We'll get a pretty good sense of where they're going. And I believe that our message is we want to work with you, but we're going to make sure we get this right.
All right, and again, we'll put a list up of all the town hall dates throughout this broadcast and on our website, so you know where to go and when to attend those town halls. Speaking of listening to the people, you are out at an apartment complex down on Riverside Parkway yesterday. Right. During a couple of recent board meetings, we heard from residents there complaining about condition of those apartments. We know there's only so much legally the county can do to combat that problem, but what did you hope to obtain by going and looking yourself?
Well, obviously, the chairman has pulled and tugged in a lot of different directions. And I have to be very careful about using the office of the chairman to do certain events. And the most important thing is I do not want to get in front of my commissioners. So even though I get emails from constituents here in the county, I always let them know that I appreciate their note, but I have to refer this matter to their commissioner to see if they can resolve it first. Because if I don't do that, then I'm not respecting the commissioner or giving them the opportunity to fix it. And I don't know of a single circumstance where they have not been able to resolve it. So by the fact that I get out and around a lot, and I give my card out to just about everybody, that gives them a direct line to me. But every now and then, there's an occasion when by emails, by what I've seen in my ride-alongs, what I hear at the Board of Commissioners meeting during public comment, there's something that comes to your attention where you just have to bring the office of the chairman to it. And this situation involving 3 apartment complexes down on Riverside Parkway has clearly risen to that level. So I went down yesterday just to knock on some doors and talk to some people to get a sense of what their issues were. And I can tell you that this is not going to be a one-off. This is not a photo op for me to go down there and it looks good on the paper. I'll be down there on a regular basis with our team because, you know, we have to show everyone in this county, no matter who you are, regardless of your circumstance, we are a government that represents everybody. And the plight of these renters is broad and wide. And I don't want to get into the specifics because there is litigation involved here, and I don't want to have, say something here that might weaken our case. But there's no doubt in our mind that the residents of these apartment complexes, it is so desperate down there that we are the last resort. We are the last resort. And don't get me wrong, this county has done a lot. We have code enforcement down there, we have fire inspectors down there, we have public safety down there. We have done a lot. We've called, we've filed code violations, we've taken them to court, but that doesn't seem to have made an impression. So we're going to take this up a notch. And I talked to the district attorney today, and we're going to get together a task force. And we have to show people in this county, regardless of where you are in this county, I don't care if you're the most rich or the most poor, we treat everybody equally. And we represent you. And when you call on us to help you, we're going to be there for you. So yesterday afternoon, I'm sure you're going to have some pictures. You'll see how many people came out to help us there. And I want to, we had some cooperation yesterday, and I want to give credit where it's due. They are, in fact, making some changes there. But I believe that more can be done, and I just want to make sure that the residents of that county know that we're there to support their commissioner. We're there to support the county offices that are trying to make your life better, because everybody in this county should know that they can safely work, live, play, and pursue their dreams, regardless of who you are and what your circumstances are.
Right. And I know down there yesterday you had code enforcement, the police, community affairs folks were down there too to, I guess, send another message that they're there to listen. And
we had, We Thrive in Riverside, the Monica Delancey and her team. We had members from other activist groups. The SCLC was down there, members of the NAACP. It's a community effort. And I was just trying to convey to them that we're there to help them, all right? We can help, we can get out and get information from the tenants and give this information to the property manager to help them get this job done. But again, I just think this is important to emphasize is that this is not a small deal. This is something that has risen to the level where we need to do something in the county. And if we don't do something, that we're not living up to our commitments and our responsibilities.
And you already mentioned, I mean, there's a court date in this case next month, so we'll see what happens there.
That's right.
Go from there. Well, I appreciate you coming in. We'll see you at the town halls. Again, we'll have a complete listing of where those town halls are and when they are on the screen on our website, cobbcounty.org. And follow along with us on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube to keep up with everything going on in the county. And we will see you at the town hall.
I'll be ready.
All right.